Hey listeners, before we start our pod,
We just wanted to say that this episode was filmed at a different location, so you might hear some echoes or people chatter, but bear with us, don't leave us, and I hope you enjoyed this pod. Bye! Today we've got my very, very dear friends, Tanya and Jacqui, and we've got Iryan here as well, I guess.
I might.
And so, yeah, hello, welcome to the second episode for the year. This will be our 10th episode. So remember how we talked about most podcasts will stop having a podcast after the 10th episode because they can't talk much about anything anymore. So hopefully after this, we'll still have something to talk about.
Well, first of all, I haven't fact-checked that from Mel. So
That's what we've been told. I mean, I've been told by one person.
That must be true then. Did you read it on the internet?
No, I didn't.
I mean, when I think about that, I think, well, that makes sense because you get your topic across after 10. And that's why we would like to have guests on, right? Listen to your story.
But yes, so Tanya, Jacqui, do you want to give a little short intro about who you are and what you do in life?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jacqueline. I'm 30 this year. No,
Woo!
31. 31, my bad. I'm living in the past. I have a daughter and I like to keep active and I balance that out with my love of ice cream.
Nicely said. I'm Tanya. I'm turning 31 a couple of days after you, actually.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, we have close
Crazy.
birthdays.
Yeah.
I am also a mum of a fur baby.
I was very confused.
He's about 12 years old and he's just chilling at home at the moment. And I do science on the side. I also like to bake sometimes when things are good. Yeah, we can talk more about baking later.
I'm very keen. I've just taken my sourdough starter out this morning.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
It's been a couple months, years
Whoa,
now.
whoa! It's been a couple of weeks since I made bread, Mel. Relax.
I swear it's been more than that.
Yeah, it's probably
100%. And so the question that we like to start off before all interviews is what shows or books or content that you're currently consuming?
I just finished watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There's
Heard about that.
An
it's like
oldie,
an oldie, but I think it's like 16 seasons and it went up to like 2023. I think they're still going. Kind of binge watched that quite quickly. It's pretty funny.
How long did it take to binge watch 16 seasons?
Let's not go there. It took, I don't know, how long is it meant to take? I think there's like 8 episodes a season. It's like 20-30 minute episodes.
Oh, that's not bad.
We don't judge you.
Yeah.
You do.
You know, I would do me.
Yeah, like at least you didn't say you binge watched the whole of Simpsons because that'll take you a long time.
No, I think I couldn't even try that challenge. How many seasons is it?
I don't know.
I've no idea.
Yeah, no, I don't want to go down that road. But that's pretty good. And I'm also reading Wifedom. It's like a new book, The Invisible Life of George Orwell's wife.
Interesting.
It's pretty good. I'm really like, like a third of the way through it, but it's kind of like infuriating as well. Because it's like, yes, wives.
Do things. What am I watching? I just finished Boy Swallows Universe,
Oh, yeah.
which I really enjoyed. It's about, a kid that grows up with sort of a stepdad that's a drug dealer and a mum who's on and off drugs and sort of his struggles in life and how everything ends up turning out all right in the end, which was really nice. But spoiler, if anyone hasn't watched that.
I think it's actually on. So it's a show as well, right? As well as
It's
a
a book. Yeah, it is a book. I never read the book. But the show was great, and it's an Australian actresses and actors, and it's really relatable. So I thought it was, not that I'm a drug dealer, but it's cool in that sense.
No, yes, I've seen that pop up a little bit. Have not watched it. Haven't had the time. I started watching Lincoln Lawyer again.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So, well, it's from a book. It's Michael O'Connelly's books. Yeah, so good books. The movie was The series is good. So I've started watching it again.
I watched the movie. I haven't seen
Yeah.
the series. Yeah.
So the movie was Matthew McConaughey, I think it was. Yeah. So look, again, as the character, I think he did really well. I think the series is better. So
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, what are you watching right now?
So in our previous episode, my dear friend Simone actually recommended a couple things to watch and read. So one of them was Limitless by Chris Hemsworth, and it's basically about what you need to do to be able to live longer. So some of the things that he did, and actually it's in my notes of things that I want to incorporate in my life, would be, how as humans we live so abundantly and we're so comfortable, and one of the only ways to prolong your body is to, shock your body. So like going to saunas. Yeah, exactly. Going on in saunas or like ice bathing it, or like figuring out new ways of prolonging your memory. The two other books that Simone recommended at the time, it's actually on my now to read list. One is The Courage to be Disliked, because then we talked about what happens if you're a people pleaser.
Guilty.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, how? And then the other book was Stolen Focus, is what happens when you are always on your phone. So how do you be less, you have less screen time, which then after the pod, Iryan and Simone had cross-check their screen time, and it was 5, 6, 7?
Something, 4 or 5 hours a day. Most of it's Google Maps or something. And
Google Maps is fine. Yeah.
Mine was 15
How does yours 15?
Hours a day.
hours a day.
How do you have time for
No,
that?
because I use it to sleep. I have a sleep app.
Oh, how long do you sleep for?
7 hours. It's still, that means I still have 7. Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Still 8 hours.
I'm in the world of trying to create things, so I can't help it. But when you take a shit, you watch YouTube or you do Duolingo? Yeah. So
It's
you.
not like 7 hours. Is it?
What about you, Iryan? Yeah.
I have not read anything for a while, which is a bit of a shame, actually. I had this book. It was called something of the Anthropocene. What was it? It was written by John Green. So John Green wrote the
No.
Not the Notebook.
No, who wrote The
Notebook? Not John Green. Who wrote the Notebook?
Anyway, so he writes rom-coms.
Oh.
But he wrote this non-fiction book about, and he reviews things in the current world. So, the Coke bottle and how it was designed and why, and he rates it 3 out of 5. And every chapter is a little snippet of something different in the current world. It's really interesting.
How did you get onto that book?
It was #1 on Goodreads, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there
What's
you
it
go.
called again?
I'll find it. Yeah, I can't remember. I've got it. If you want to, I'll whip it out. Thanks, Dan. Thank you again for making the time to come onto the podcast. It's always nice to have some fresh faces. I know we're a podcast. We are recording this. If we ever get some reels out.
Excuse me. I get reels out.
I mean, that wasn't a stab at her, but
Excuse me. Anyway,
But yes, thank you for making the time. It's nice to get new people on, but not necessarily new, because the three of you know each other. How was that?
do.
Yeah.
We all went to high school together, actually, back in the day. So what is that, 15 years ago? 16 years ago?
Oh, don't remind me.
When we used to go to school.
But have you ever heard the concept, if you are friends for more than 8 years, that's it, your friendship solidify?
It's stuck,
Yeah, it was stuck. Thanks, Jax.
That's pretty good. All right.
Tanya's happy to be here.
Thanks for including me.
So I think Tanya was talking about before that we were all in the same sort of form, which meant that each year, instead of moving classes and being in homeroom with different people, we're in the same homeroom with each other. And that meant that we stayed friends for all of high school. But then there was a little bit of a lull, I would say. And I think, Mel, you're going to...
Yeah, Jacqui can't remember how we became friends.
After the
After the high school.
Because we went to different unis, right? And so we're just, I feel like it kind of naturally separated. It wasn't like a it's just, we're going to uni and let's start our non-school lives.
I think so. I think it's also from my recollection, and it could be wrong because, memories are skewed. I remember reaching out to you, Jacqui, because you went to law school with me at that time.
Yep, I can. Yeah.
And then we had another friend. Hi, Alex. I don't know if you're listening, but he was part of our 3. And then I think we slowly like solidified our friendship. And then one day you're like, hey, do you remember this cool chick named Tanya? I was like, yeah, I remember her. Like, do we want to get Vietnamese? And that was our first time like hanging out as a threesome, like 3.
So I organised all this. But
You
I don't
did,
remember.
yeah.
Okay.
And then we had another friend who is now currently traveling the world, Tev, that I think we had a gathering as well. But you were the one that got us together.
Well, there you go.
Connecting people.
Yeah, that's me.
When was this? Because I feel like when I found out you got engaged, I was like, shit, Jacqui is engaged. I need to be more in her life.
Oh,
and then I
that's
remember
cute.
reaching out that way. Because I remember there was a lull then. I wonder if that's when.
It all happened. Well, that would have been 2017, I would say.
Well, actually, remind us again, how old were you when you got married?
24.
24.
24 turning 25. Yeah.
How long were you engaged for again?
A year.
A year.
A year.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, that's how we got together as friends.
It came back to me that we were in mooting comp together, and that
Yeah.
really solidifies friendships.
Sorry, in what?
Oh, sorry. In mooting, it's so in law school they do like these fake court cases.
Oh,
where you
yeah.
pretend to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so Mel and I and Alex were on the same team, but it's a highly stressful environment.
Yes.
And requires late hours of working together,
Yeah.
which then you lead to dinners and things like
So
that.
you either hate each other or love each other.
Yeah. By the end of it, yes.
By the end of it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had love. So
Oh,
that
amazing.
was really good.
Is this the Alex that I know?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, there you go. Alex.
But I hope he's listening. Gosh.
Well, that's amazing, right? Because I am.
Alex, you've been called out.
Because I find that interesting, right? So I went to high school overseas,
Yeah.
so it's a bit different for me. Mel and I talk a little bit about this on our podcast, Being Away from Home.
And being Malaysians.
And yes, she just like to slip it in there. But yeah, so I moved here after high school, tried to keep in touch with friends from high school, and on a previous episode we talked a little bit about how I do that or how we do that, trying to keep in touch. But it's hard, right? It's hard to connect. It's hard. We're busy as hell.
Feel that, yeah.
Right, I know, right? Well, there you go. I can barely get up in the morning to exercise and go to work and come back and clean the house and cook, and right? And you repeat that for 5 days a week, and you have a weekend, and one day you're trying to recover. So,
Yeah.
so no, that's amazing.
And actually, I think like even though we had our own way of keeping in contact with our friends, I'm curious, how do you like what sort of friendship groups do you have in your life, and how do you normally keep in contact with them?
I've made it's quite recent, but an intentional approach in sort of trying to keep friendships that I value going. And I feel like that is something that I've learned as I've grown older. And also, especially with having my daughter, sort of knowing the friends that are perhaps more receptive to, I can't go today because I've got some, that's during Madison's nap time or whatever. And they'll make the effort to maybe come to my house or do something else rather than just writing you off as a friend. So I think that's been really important for me to keep those relationships going and being intentional about that and making sure that I'm across what people are doing, like what their lives are like. Are they engaged? Like, want to know all those are big details, but I want to know the small details as well. So I think that's something that I've been more intentional about since having a child. Which is funny because you have less time when you have a kid.
Yeah, I was actually about to say what changed. That, like it took that, like how you said it took me a minute to register there.
I think because you understand after you have a child who your actual friends are, because before that, yeah, you can catch up whenever, you can do whatever. Like, it's not hard to sort of cater to other people and do what they want to do. But when it's just about you, which sometimes it has to be when you have a kid, especially in those early days, you look at the people that actually care that that's something you're going through. So yeah, I think that's why you then as I said, been more intentional, because I know, this is a write-off this week or but I've got to be, set things in advance, sort of dates and things like that.
So being more intentional. funny you mentioned, because I mentioned the same thing on the previous recording about being intentional with the people that you meet, right? We have less time. We have a lot less time. But yeah, we're all at the stage where, you know, when you're in your 20s, everybody's kind of going through the same thing. Now in our 30s, you know, friends with kids, you know, a 12-year-old fur baby. I have neither at the moment. But, you know, everybody's at a different stage of life, and that's okay. And so I think you end up with people, surrounding yourself with people that want to, maybe that was not compromise, but to understand each other. You know, you make the effort for each other.
One has to be a give and take if it's a
Well, it's a give and
friendship,
take.
right? Yeah. And like, you know, this is one point in my life. You know, some of my friends are going to go on to have kids and I'm going to be there, right? You know, later on in life, I'm going to be helping them. Like, it's sort of like a mutual respect for what the other person is experiencing at that time.
Yeah.
I think.
And you know, I've had to accept, maybe slowly accept, but I've had to accept that, you know, some of my friends have families, kids. I may not be able to see them as much. That's okay, right? Doesn't mean you don't see them ever. It's just a different schedule. Just like how, say, we are working and I've got a friend who's studying. It's a different schedule. You're not going to be able to see me every day of the week because I work every day of the week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting to hear it from your perspective as, like, you know, your friends may have kids and then have less time for you. So how did you come to terms with that? Was that really hard for you to sort of...
Well, I think it was natural because my sister's got 2.
Yeah.
And 5 and 7 now.
Yeah.
So when she first had her first, you know, life change in the family, right? It takes a village to raise a baby, and it did. And you start I see it. I physically see there's less time at home, and you know, if you haven't had the opportunity to be in a household with a young one, as we did, because my sister was at home with the family, it's hard to understand. But seeing that made it easier for me to understand what the other person's going through, because you don't see everything at home, and you shouldn't, right? It's private.
That's right, yeah.
And it's all different, right? Every family is going to have a different experience. But no, the word's not accept. I think the word is adapt.
Yeah, that's a good word, I think.
Yeah.
What about you, Tans?
Me and my friendships. I think my understanding of friendships has changed over time compared to early 20s, where everyone is your friend, everyone you meet, and it just, I don't know if it's maybe that time in my life compared to now, but maybe it's like more open and you're just meeting more people, whereas now, like, the slog of work, work's not a slog, but you're just living. As you listed all the things we need to do just to, you know, live day to day.
Just to survive.
Yeah, and you don't have much time, but then also social battery takes time to charge. And it's like, oh, I don't think I reached my 80% quota to charge my battery to see people. And I find that I don't have that much energy to share with people. Sometimes I find like I'm a little bit disappointed in myself in that aspect, because I have a lot of wonderful friends and I want to see them more. But sometimes I'm like, oh, damn, I just can't. Like, I just need to stay at home and vegetate on the couch. But what I think I'm good at is also understanding that other people go through those same complex energy, I don't know, ups and downs. So if I don't see someone for like a month or 2, I'm like, I've learned to not take it personally because they have their own shit going on. I'm like, everyone's got their own thing. So when we do catch up, it's awesome. Like, for us 3, we have very complex schedules. And like when we do manage to, like, you know, get down a date and like, yeah, we'll see each other, it's like awesome. But I don't think the amount of times we see each other dictates the strength of this friendship. But yeah, and I think also, I don't know, I've started, well, I haven't actually just started now, but I've been part of a soccer team for a couple of years now. And that was like a really nice way. It's almost like school again, because you have your consistent time schedules where you meet people, you spend time with them, and it's a really easy way to make new friends. Whereas, I don't know, if you're at work or if you're just finding other people, I don't know, like, how else do you make new friends otherwise?
I agree.
I don't know, I feel like you have to put yourself in a group that has a consistent time meetings.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's, I don't know. So anyway.
And look, I get it, right? It's hard. Schedules are, as we go on in life, I realize it's harder to align. It's harder to get something out of the group chat. It's really hard to get something out of the group chat.
We're getting more and more group chats.
Well, oh, yeah. But so it's an interesting point you make about a soccer team, right? Because I was training for a triathlon, had to downgrade to a smaller one, but showed up, and training for the triathlon was a pain in the ass, right? You know?
You paid for this.
Yeah. So, so I followed a program. It was 3 or 4 times a week, and I met a lot of people, right? So I did it with 2 friends. It was really nice to spend time with them 3 days a week. We did say that if we come out of this, we will, endure anything else in the future because we see each other 4 days a week. But you made a lot of good friends, right? And it's nice to have that consistency to say, well, I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Or let's go out for dinner after, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
But now the question I have for you is, are you seeing those new friends? Like, have you been able to see them outside of your scheduled training sessions? Or do you want to? Or is it meant to be a friendship for that moment, for that event?
Like a summer fling?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to say it that way, sure.
Well, look, the race was only 2 weeks ago. I'm trying to do another one with the same people. So I'll try and catch up with them when I can over the next couple of weeks, and if the schedules align, right?
Yeah.
And I also think this is, even if it doesn't, it's probably okay. I feel like all of us, if we've gone overseas for anything, or even if it's on exchange or just travel, once you find someone new at a hostel or your uni mates, it's okay to have like a momentary friendship that fits in that circumstance. Because I think as an adult, when you're trying to figure out, prioritize your life, what needs to happen, you can't just include everyone in your life. But it was nice for that period of time that you actually met someone new and that's outside your range of friends and the sort of people that you might have been able to meet normally. But actually, Tanya, just really quickly, I don't know if you know how you said you were like disappointed that you aren't able to like see.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but there was this one occasion, I think, whether it was right out of COVID or like around that time where we're able to go out, but we might not have been able to go to all the restaurants yet. Do you remember when you're like, hey Mel, do you just want to catch up at a park?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, we went for a walk.
Yeah.
I just remembered, I know like it's probably tough, but when you say you were disappointed at yourself, I was like, dude, that moment, I remember I went home and I was like talking to my brother, I'm like, that was such a great spontaneous just catch up. And it takes time. I think it takes effort for people to be like, all right, if I want to do something now, do I just want to watch TV or be on my own, or do I want to figure out who lives around me and like who can I like connect with? I think that takes a lot of conscious effort.
Oh, that's nice.
But just like that's actually one of my core memories from that very hazy period. Because otherwise, I think you like as much as it's nice to have a scheduled checkup, like meeting with friends, I think it's being able to have spontaneous catch-ups.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with that. Sometimes you have to like make plans in advance to get things done. But then sometimes, yeah, you're like, oh, I'm free. Actually, a friend did that. She's like, oh, are you free today? I'm like, actually, I am free. Like, let's go get donuts. And it was great. It was another walk.
Yeah, but it was nice,
and
right?
It was great. So yeah, I think that's a very nice point. Thanks for bringing that up, Mel. Yeah, it's pretty easy just to go into, just chill at home, but you can do that spontaneous thing. It helps that we live close to each other as well, though.
But you have to remember that we live close, and you have to actually like me.
I do like you, Mel.
That's confirmed.
You actually have to be like, do I want to spend my time with this person today? So yeah.
The answer is yes. It's
Yes.
always yes.
1,000 times yes.
Should we like leave?
I feel like I'm not wanted here. Well, I guess the real test is, does your social battery need to be at 80% to see Mel?
Oh, wait, what? Why?
She was saying earlier that the social battery needs to be at,
I know, but-
because you want to vegetate first. But if it's Mel, you just go, let's go.
I think it depends on the activity. Honestly, yeah, no, if it's like a walk and I'm like, if it's spontaneous, like, I think it generally means I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know, sometimes I feel there's a bit of, I don't know, not pressure, but like, if you, no, I don't feel it with you guys. Maybe I'm going to be talking too much crap. But
That's okay.
do you find sometimes like, oh, if you plan something, there's a bit of anxiety leading up to it? And you're like,
There is pressure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
to make it worthwhile.
Yeah,
No, I get you,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
To make it feel like it's worthwhile because you're taking up somebody's time if you schedule something. But so what I'm keen, I'd be curious to know, right? So we're all getting busier. Probably said that about 5 times already.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, I know, right? But I've seen different people do it differently, but how do you handle trying to leave some time for the spontaneity? Because you can schedule your whole life and you know, with the job, the work, the kids, the family, the everything we got to do. Do you leave some time to just say, well, one, I'm going to vegetate on my couch, which I do, I'll watch 10, 20 episodes of something, and just leave that open to say, if somebody gives me a call, I'll go out. Like, do you leave some time for that? Or because my weekends are packed, like they are, right?
Yes, I feel like I do. Just because by default that my weekends aren't intentionally packed. So there's room.
If you wanted to get off the couch.
Yeah, I could. Also, I live with my partner. I've been living with him for a long, long time. And generally we'll do the spontaneous things together. We don't really plan. We do plan things, but we're like, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, we're like, let's go snorkeling in Williamstown.
Fun.
And we're like, yeah, it was pretty random. We were in the water for like 20 minutes because we're like, oh, we're drowning, it's too choppy. But it was actually like, it was really good. And it's easier because I live with him to do those spontaneous things. I'm like, I know your energy, my energy's matching, let's do this. Snorkeling, that is.
We weren't thinking about anything else.
Until you said that.
But actually, that's a really great point, because I recently had another spontaneous catch up where I wished happy birthday to someone, and they're like, oh, if you're ever free, let's catch up. And I hate being one of those people that be like, yeah, totally, let's catch up, and then don't catch up. So it's like, yeah, all right, when are you free? And then he was like, what about now? It's like, I'm free now. But I think like the fact that you're saying you have to leave some space for your weekend in order to do anything spontaneous, I feel like that week I had nothing planned, not intentionally, but it just happened to be the case. And whenever there are times when my weekend's packed, my weekday's packed, like someone's like, do you want to catch for coffee? I'm like, I'm only free in 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks time.
In 2 weeks'
Jeez,
time?
now. Yeah.
Oh, no, but you know.
That's crazy.
But just makes me think it's probably a good idea to not have such a packed schedule, just to schedule in that spontaneous moment, opportunity.
But then on the flip side,
Yeah, but is it spontaneous if you're leaving time for it to be spontaneous?
and
I
then you might be
know.
lonely because you haven't done anything
No,
that
no, no,
weekend. You're like,
yeah.
oh crap.
I know it's tough. It's
It's
a tough balance, but and I know there's some science out there. Don't quote me on this. Don't fact check me. But there's definitely something out there to say the best ideas are found when you're just doing nothing.
Yeah, true. Being
Like leave some time to do nothing,
Yeah.
right? But it's scary, right? Because one, you have somebody who has 15 hours worth of screen time a day, right? So where do you find the time to not consume content?
Yeah.
Right? It's mad.
So I want to go back to how you spoke about soccer just then, because today it was a real something that I found recently, a concept I found recently, but it's now all over the news. So I'm like pretty slow on this. I think is the concept of the third space. And so I think it probably is in line with what we talk about in our previous episode, or what sort of relationship you want to cultivate, and one of them is community involvement. And I think for me, dragon boating is my third space, but not everyone can have sport as a third space. I think some people can. And I was having a conversation with someone where they're like, I reckon in Australia, people are doing so many sports because sport is a lot of people's third spaces. Just curious, is that yours? Do you go to that sport to apparently a third space there needs to be an element where you are able to explore yourself, transform yourself, and meet people outside of your normal day-to-day activity, which I think you said it is. But what else does your sport, your soccer group, what else does that bring for you?
Well, I initially joined the soccer team coming out of COVID because I was like, I need to talk to more people. I mean, so I was doing my PhD during COVID as well, and it's pretty like, I speak to 3 people. I need to talk to more people. And it's like, it's a women's club in Footscray, and it's, yeah. I know, I found them, I rocked up, everyone was really friendly. I was like, this is really nice. Getting to meet a bunch of different people who I otherwise would not have normally met. They all do like, actually we have a lot of engineers on the team. So they're not all, but they all do a lot of like different things, which, yeah, so I wouldn't normally meet. But no one talks about work there. It took me like 4 years to figure out what people are doing. I'm like, wait, you're an engineer? Like, you work in government? Like, what? So that was really nice and refreshing. And then we get to like go party, which I like to like party hard with them. I mean, I don't know if it's party hard, but that's something I don't do with like my current friends anymore. We've kind of grown out of that phase.
Sorry.
No, you had a great birthday, Mel. Like, was it last year? That was really nice, but it's not.
Common,
You know what I mean?
not
Yeah.
common.
Was this the one that was it last year, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Is it the one where you crashed on my couch?
Yes.
Yes.
Big night.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I had
Yes.
a good chat with you there.
Yes.
Background, they've met before.
It does ring a bell.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
we did have to bring Mel home that night and put her on the couch for a while.
I mean, I just turned 30. What do you expect?
Not recently, by the way. That
Not
was a couple
recently,
years
sorry,
ago. Just to remind everyone.
A kid who was like in the early 20s thought I was 25, 26 today, so that's
Love that for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. You were talking about how you found out that people are engineers and they didn't talk about their work.
Yeah, for a while. So that was like refreshing because as we spoke earlier, like, who are you? I am my job. No.
Actually,
wrong.
what did they say? Yeah, how did they
Well, we're just like introduced by names, like, oh, how long have you been at the club for? Have you played soccer before? And then you'd start running.
no talk, more train. What about you, Jax? What's your third space?
I think for me, it definitely have to be church. I found this church when I was up in Surrey Hills when we used to live around there, and it was just a beautiful place where, like, my husband comes from, like, we're both Christian but different sorts of Christian, and this was a place where sort of my Catholicness and his Pentecostalism sort of combined, so it just felt like home for us. A lot of people would be like, what does that mean? But I guess it's like the more traditional church and like sort of a new school vibe intertwining, which was really cool. And we've just gotten to a point like that church is such that they're very intentional about fostering those relationships. So there's like small groups where you make an active, like, you know, you can put your name down and you're put into a group where people, like I'm in a group where there's women that are all around the same age that hang out and do life together. I started a mother's group there and we had like a
Amazing.
morning tea this morning and we all hung out and all our kids are around the same age, and that's been really important because my daughter doesn't go to kindergarten, so that's sort of another space where she can actually interact with children, because we're lucky that we have my parents looking after her and my husband's parents. But it's just so beautiful because we'll come in and there's sort of like after mass there'll be like a time of fellowship, which is just, you know, coffee, cake, whatever. But I can let my kid run wild and like someone will pick her up and be like, I found her over here eating biscuits. You know, and that's kind of cool. So yeah, that's definitely my third space.
It's nice to have that sort of safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for
Which I
sure.
tell you, it's hard to find. Like, so I don't yet have that. You know, like, you know, we were saying in one of our episodes, community is one of the things we talk about when we think about relationships, right? So with the people that you surround yourself with. Now, Mel is trying to get me into dragon boating. She still tries every episode.
There's an event tomorrow.
There is an event.
Oh, is there an event tomorrow?
There is an event on the 25th of Feb. So depending on when we release this episode, there was an event on the.
Are you competing tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Oh, always. It's always a race. It's always a race. No, but that's really fascinating, right? So I again, I don't have that sort of sense of community, but I kind of want to latch on to this idea of the church being your third space and faith. So I was brought up in a typically Muslim family in Malaysia. Now live away from home. Life's kind of moved on a little bit, but the broader family continues to practice, and how I feel like it's really shaped me as an individual, having both that anchor in terms of my learnings from the family, but then also being overseas and seeing things done differently. How has it shaped your upbringing?
Well, I'm what they call a cradle Catholic, which means...
Oh my God.
Sorry, what's...
A cradle Catholic, so it's like from the cradle, from when you're a baby, you were taken to church every week. So I have a pretty strong foundation in that we were really religious growing up. And I have my parents to thank for that. I mean, and I think people things like the Old Testament and the commandments and things, like a lot of it shaped Western society in terms of thou shalt not kill, like things like that. They're things that I take with me even now, like those teachings. But I think the real change for me is when it became more of a debate. So as I mentioned before, my husband comes from a different sort of Christian base. And so he'd be like, yeah, you believe that, but like, why? Or like, you sure that's right? Which is confronting when I think the thing is, I would go to church on Sunday and religion was confined to that day, right? It wasn't I'd go to youth groups and things like that as well, but it wasn't part of my everyday. And I think he really caused me to be and also being a lawyer by background, be like, hey, I know stuff. I'm going to show you what I know.
Whip out the case law.
Yeah. And the case law was the Bible.
Well, there you go.
So yeah, I was like, I've read every other law textbook. I'm sure I can read the Bible. Sure, I should probably do that if that's going to underpin my faith. So yeah, that took me on a journey of discovering what it really meant. And I think that I had the foundations, but I didn't have that deeper sort of insight until I read. And then now I would say religion forms my everyday. I think I've talked to you, Mel, about sort of this process that I do. It's called the Examine, and it's sort of like a nightly reflection. Yeah. And you do this, not all Christians do it, it's sort of one of the praying mechanisms, but the whole point is you reflect throughout your day and you see where God was present, or maybe God was telling you to do something and how you reacted. Maybe you were like, no, I'm not doing that, or maybe you chose to do something good or whatever it is, and you get that time to reflect on your day. And anything that doesn't sit well with you, you've got to reflect on, why doesn't that sit well? What could you have done better? Why did you feel that way? So that you can go into the next day, asking God to help you be better. And that's been relatively new. It's sort of a New Year's resolution thing. So that's where I'm at currently in my faith. But that's been really helpful and just helped my development as a human. And makes you so aware of everything you say, all your actions and how they impact other people, which I think, maybe something doesn't feel right for the day, but you're like, tomorrow's a new day. You don't reflect on it and sort of learn from it, which has been confronting, but good for the soul.
Yeah, I mean, it's a powerful exercise. I think it's a powerful thing to do, which I'm guilty of not doing. Mel and I spoke the other day about trying to keep a bit of a journal of what we're grateful for, and look, it's nowhere close to that sort of exercise. And what did you call it? Examine?
It's called the Examine.
The Examine, right? I don't think I could mentally do it. I think I probably have too much that I'm worried to find out about myself. But it's powerful, right? Because everyone says you do need to stop, reflect, and be a bit more mindful nowadays. So thanks for sharing.
That's all right. Yeah, I agree. It's powerful, and that it delves into recesses of your mind that you may not want to journey into, but it's a rewarding experience. Yeah.
And for me, I find it very hard to do anything like that, to disconnect, and not necessarily to disconnect from my phone. I'm fine with that, right? And so and back to the point earlier about, we might have been speaking before the pod, but spending a bit of time in nature, right? That's why I like to try and get out to nature. I don't do it often enough. But when I go camping, you have your phone, it's fine. There might be network, but I'm suddenly in a different space. I'm sitting there thinking, I want to make the best use of being in nature, sit down. We were talking about camping over Australia Day by the stream in bright, beautiful place. You get up in the morning, sit on the chair. It's like 7 o'clock. And I don't want to talk or listen or consume anything for about 5 minutes and just, and you're with your thoughts for a while. So, Tanya, we were saying earlier, you do go camping.
Yes.
What do you look for? Like when you go camping, is it to be out in nature? Is it to have some s'mores? I love some s'mores.
S'mores are always good. If you, so Greg is more of the nature. I think he went for a kayak camp like last night.
Oh.
So I tag along with him. But when we find a place, ideally, I told you like geography or like what I want. Like what I want to get out of that weekend.
What do you want to get out of the weekend?
Well, for me, my phone dies very quickly.
Yes.
And I'm very happy with that.
Yeah.
My phone's off. I'm like, all right, I get to either read a book, but then that's also another type of
That's okay.
consuming, but giving my eyes a break. But I really like just sitting there and just like looking at birds.
Yeah.
Trying to find the birds. I'm like, look, Greg, look there. I'm like a child again. And that's
Right?
that's pretty relaxing for me because I think day to day so many things to do. We don't get to be as playful and relaxed. So I think that's what I like out of camping.
Yeah. I like that you said it's nice to be playful. So I have this thing. I don't know, Mel, if I've mentioned to you. We spoke about running. I actually don't like running. But I have this, let's call it a dream, but this idea, when this is possible, I just want to be in an empty field and just run. So, we live in the city. I live in the city, right? You're stuck in this grid. You walk on a sidewalk. You drive on a road. You sit on a tram. You get on a train. Everything's so built up.
Yeah.
And this is why that's why I enjoy snowboarding. I've started open water swimming, and yes, it scares the bejesus out of me. But there's this freedom of being out there that I really like.
Yeah.
And like open water swimming, similar to snowboarding, you can't consume anything. One, it's dangerous. Two, you probably couldn't in the water if you wanted to. But then being in the water, one, I'm scared of drowning, and that's a constant fear for me in open water. But when you get past that, you're sitting there and you're alone. You're actually alone in the water. And it gives me time with my thoughts. Scary. But yeah. So the concept of third space, I don't have mine yet. Still trying to find mine.
Could be dragon boating. No, but actually everything that you said right now, that's really fun. Have you heard of how there's a meme going around where kids these days, if they're in the car, they are looking at their phones, whereas in the past, when you're in the car, you're like, if it's raining.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that pop up.
Or like you're like, when it's raining, you're like, which raindrop is gonna win? Oh no! Have you not seen that meme? Because I definitely did that. And I think even when you're talking about, I think it's everything that you said is all about being mindful of like the moment, right? Like, you looking at a bird. It feels like, if we were younger, such an old person thing to do. You're like, like such an old person thing to do, and like you have like a bird book, but it does keep you at present, like keep your mind at present, and even when you are doing the examen, I like the fact that you have to think about what you've done today and figure out a better way of doing it tomorrow. I feel like that requires a lot of thinking because of how much we've consumed content these days, or your brain is technically off, even though it's probably running at 5,000 kilometers per hour. So yeah, I think similar to what everyone said, I think like when you are, like for me, when I'm at dragon boating, I think it's that moment, because for me, if you don't paddle the right way, you could break a finger, as in like someone broke a finger recently.
I didn't know that, yeah.
No.
You still want to go?
No. But the only reason, wait, you can drown while you're surfing.
That's awesome.
You can drown when you're open water swim. This is just a broken finger. But no, I quite like that. I think like as we get older and we have more things to probably juggle with, it's quite nice to find that moment where you're able to find something to latch onto, just to clear your mind for a little bit.
I have a question though, Jacqui.
Oh.
So about the examen. So like
Yeah.
when my point of like relaxing is I don't want to focus on bad things, but there's not a lot of growth if I don't do that reflection. How do you deal with like finding like, oh yeah, that
Things
was
you don't like.
yeah, and it's like do you like, all right, I acknowledge it, I can try and do better, but then it's like I'm just gonna sweep that under the rug.
I think, and I heard this in a podcast recently, like you train your body. Like if you're training your body, you want your muscles to get bigger, you put them under intense stress. Like that's how you make your body stronger. And similar with your mind and like sort of going through what may not be great about you is a way at exercising sort of, for me it's a spiritual thing, but you know, the inside of you is getting a workout as well. Is how I look at it, and it's making you stronger. I think the other thing I have, because mine's also spiritually based, like, you know, I can ask for forgiveness for that specific thing that may have gone wrong today.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that perhaps, you know, the next day I might apologize to someone, you know, for what I've said, or like make amends in a, you know, in a more, well, another way. So I think ultimately it's something good that's going to come out of that evaluation.
Yep.
And if you can deal with the turmoil of it,
Yeah, that guilt.
but then you think about it'll spring you into the next day as a better version of yourself. And every day you're getting a little bit better. And yeah, you might regress here and there, but you know, yeah, I did that. And okay, it's a pattern. I've got to confront this. So whatever it is. Again, I've just been doing it this year, so I'm no expert on the examen, but people, it's like from, I think, St. Ignatius, so it's like from years and years ago. So people do it and it's helped them. So I'm hoping it'll help me.
No, thanks for that, because I know like you are very like strong, like
It's very nice of you to say.
Yeah,
I think you are too, yeah.
But like I see, that's something like I've always like admired with you. So it's just like, it's also a nice mindset. It's like, yeah, you mess up, you can dwell in it, which I like to do sometimes. Like, oh,
don't we all though? Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, move on. Like, action.
I think there are times when you need to dwell on it, and like I know we all do that. We're like, oh, this has just been a crap day, or like whatever it is. But I think the most powerful thing you can do with something being crap is trying to make it better. So that's within your power. Change the world, girl. You do it.
Thanks, Jacqui.
I mean, look, I think that's really good advice. So one of the things I latched on to that bit was, you know, you get a little bit better every time. Sometimes you regress. What I heard was course correct, right? Like nudge yourself a little bit back to where you think you need to be, where you should be. You're not always going to get it right.
Yeah. 100%.
But if you do that enough, and you're going through life, right? And we get older as we get older, you kind of get to where you want to be.
I hope so.
Yeah, yeah. And look, where you want to be may not be a destination, right? It's this is who I want to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
You know?
right.
So no, that's amazing.
I think, if you've got more awareness of what you don't like, then at least you're working towards changing. If you don't know what it is, like it's just been an uneasy day and you're not able to pinpoint exactly why, then you can't really course correct in time, as you say. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. We've spoken about a lot of things today. Before we round out, one of the things that we ask all our guests, as we have done ourselves in the past, is a piece of advice you might give your younger self. Sorry to put you on the spot.
And just to give you, actually, no. I'm going to give the mic back.
Yeah, and look, I think we've spoken a lot about, so course correction is an interesting one, finding a third space, building friendships. I mean, there's a whole lot there, right? But, for me, going to the 30s, it's, at what point in my past would I have benefited from some advice? What would I have liked to have known at a certain point in my life? If you have something to share.
For me, because I have a brother, he's about 8 years younger. So it's like, what do I tell him? That's the take I'm going to take, the spin. Anyway. Have more fun. Like, I'm grateful for the things I've done because it's set me up and I should be okay. Fingers crossed. There's still a lot of life to live.
You'll be right.
But yeah, just just have more fun, especially when you're younger and you're able to. I mean, like, that's short and sweet before I ramble on more.
Yeah. I agree. I would say everything's going to be okay. I think I transferred into law, so I didn't get I think it's called an ATAR now, that you needed for law. So I was like, this sucks. And like, I was so upset about that. And then I was so like stressed about transferring. And then I was so stressed about getting a job in law. And then, it's just a progression of, and I think it's sort of part of our culture when you go through uni. That it's all going to be okay. I mean, my life trajectory thus far has been pretty good. And I think it probably, all the stress really wasn't necessary on the way.
Chill.
Actually, it's quite in line with even the advice that we received from Simone last week, which is the big header was basically don't be too hard on yourself, which I feel like it's like trying to be a little bit more fun, like just try to have more fun and like not be too stressed is basically on the way of doing that, right?
Yeah.
I think like not taking life too seriously either. Like we've got a lot, well, at least from 20s to like, that's the time where, you don't have as much responsibility as we have now.
Exactly.
Like you should be living it up. Like, and we can say that now because I'm all in the responsibilities now.
Well, we could probably still live it up right now, right? Like they say 40s is the new 30s.
Well, I've got a babysitter tonight, so yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Jacqui will be like partying hard tonight, painting. You can't paint the town red anymore. What's a nice version of saying paint the town red, but not? Because isn't paint the town red if you're like single and you're like, is that the meaning of paint the town
The
red?
phrase is from, where it originates actually. There's a history lesson. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna end it at that. Thank you guys for coming into the pod, and also actually we talk about friendship so much. I think it's also like really exciting when you have friends who are willing to come into your podcast and like kind of have fun actually with this pod and not taking it too seriously, because obviously we're all just like learning and everything. So it's been really good to have you here. I hope, Iryan, you've had a great time meeting them as well.
Yeah, no, really good. No, thank you for coming on again. Thank you for making the time, effort, busy schedules, right? And hopefully our listeners learn a little bit from this, and even if they don't, they might sit there thinking, I feel that.
Yeah.
And that'd be nice.
Hopefully. Yeah. Thank you for having us. Hopefully we weren't boring.
No.
Yeah, agreed. But I mean, it's been nice just like talking about these things as well. So thanks for the thoughtful questions and setting up the space as well.
Giving us time for self-reflection.
Yeah.
Yes, hope everyone enjoyed the show. But until then, next time.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.